Shalom, my friends. Welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. Come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can read articles, short stories, poems, because I am that sappy, and a couple books on there for free. I'll give you an example of the articles on there. I wrote an article on why kilts should be worn more often by men. My take on the Me Too movement. Essay on psychedelics, and also an essay on taking a road trip across the U.S. I've done it 3 times by myself, and I wrote some tips and tricks on there for anyone who ever thought about traveling across the U.S. So check out the website, ataboolife.com. All of it's free on the website to read, and also there's other episodes of the podcast on there too. Today's guest, I am really, really excited about. He was really fun to talk to. I had a great time. Both of us geeked out about space and time and science. So it was nice to actually talk to someone that's nerdy like me, but he is a very accomplished man for someone that's only 20 years old. He's a pilot, independent filmmaker, astronomer, and also a finalist in a space contest where he will go to Star City, Russia to go do some training as the cosmonauts go, the same training the cosmonauts go through. So it's a pretty important contest, and it's a step in the right direction for him possibly becoming an astronaut in the future. But check out what he has to say. I really just loved this episode. It was just fun. It was really just fun just talking to him. So check out for yourself. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Alright, so my name is Giat. I am 20 years old. I'm studying astrophysics and communications at the University of North Florida. And I'm glad to be here.
Now, the reason why I contacted you is because you're doing like a really exciting, you're part of a really exciting project. Why don't you tell the world what it is?
So there's this contest called the Student Astronaut Competition. It's hosted by Fox's Exploration Station. There's a show called Exploration Outer Space, which is part of Exploration Station. It's hosted by Emily Calandrelli. Mm-hmm. And essentially, every year, they give a student in college, in a STEM field, studying some sort of science degree, who wants to get into the space industry, working in the space industry in the future, a chance to do something they would have never done before, mm-hmm. Or never had the chance to do while in college. So they, in the past, they've given past student astronauts, astronaut training, a zero gravity flight, a trip to Hawaii to live in a Martian landscape, like a completely isolated,
like a biodome.
Pretty much a biodome, yeah. So spending the night in one of those domes, like a Martian habitat, where they're training now and kind of seeing what happens psychologically mm-hmm. to people who would live on Mars in the future.
Yeah.
And this year, the winner, this year's student astronaut, would be going to Russia, to Star City, which is where cosmonauts train, where Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, trained.
Yeah.
And basically would go do astronaut training there, cosmonaut training, learn a little bit about how to fly a Soyuz spacecraft, a Russian Soyuz spacecraft, and taste astronaut food, and just a bunch of other stuff. Going in a human centrifuge, experiencing
the G-forces.
The crazy G-forces that astronauts feel during launch. Just a lot of really amazing things. And it's no surprise and no secret as to why so many, students apply.
Yeah. Well, you're actually, what I read was that you're the finalist, right?
I'm a finalist. I am one of 5 finalists.
One of 5 Americans get ready to do this program.
Only one of us are going to be able to do it.
Oh my God, that's exciting.
So, now this is the final stage. So the 5 finalists, they're really cool people. They are amazing, super bright individuals.
Are these people they're all college students?
They're
correct?
all students, yes, student astronaut. So they're all really amazing. So many different backgrounds in the space industry, and we're all. And something I noticed is that we're all, pushing towards the same goal and the same ideology behind, where we want the space industry to go in the future. But we're all so different, and we all have different perspectives on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now what's going to happen is throughout this next week, I believe, I think the next few days even, we're going to have little biographies, little profiles on each student astronaut posted online, just so the world can read a little bit about each finalist.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, what they've done in the past was they've surprised the student astronaut winner. So they'd go to their classes, or they'd go to whatever it is. One of them had an internship, I believe, and Emily Calandrelli, the host of the show, she surprised that student astronaut by just saying, you won. So all of us are kind of waiting for that.
Well, when are they going to announce them?
There's no set date on when they're going to announce them, hence the surprise.
Oh, okay.
But, they could do it. They might do something different, but we don't know. We have no idea what's going on from here, which is insane.
So, tell me, how did you get to this point? How did it happen?
It's quite the story. It's a long, long story, and it began when I was a little boy.
There we go. Let's start there.
We'll start it there, yeah. I'm only 20. Little boy was, a few years ago?
Yeah, dude, for someone who's, a big geek or a big nerd, I'm very envious of you. It's wow, you actually are doing some really epic stuff. At 20.
It's really just making your years count.
Yeah.
I've seen, there's so many people that regret. I've seen a lot of videos. I love watching interviews of older people, the elderly people.
Me too.
People who are even on their deathbed, and they don't regret what they did, but what they didn't do, and it's all about making your years count, not stressing out, trying to pack as much stuff as you can into your life, but making sure you're happy and content with what you're doing, while at the same time pushing and believing in your vision for what you want your life to be. And there's a quote from Back to the Future that I live by. I watched Back to the Future when I was 14 for the first time, and I'm a big movie guy. I'm a huge, huge film guy. I make my own movies. I've been doing it since I was 7. And Back to the Future was such an amazing movie for its time.
Yeah.
And the fact that I watched it for the first time in film class when I was a freshman in high school was insane.
Really?
I was like, where has this movie been my whole life? And I was obsessed with it for years.
See, that's kind of weird, because I remember watching it as a kid. It's and I'm only 10 years older, a decade older than you.
Yeah.
And it's when you said oh, I didn't watch it till college. Man, that's freaking weird.
Yeah.
That's an amazing movie. But yeah, go ahead.
So Back to the Future, there was the quote that's the underlying theme behind the trilogy was, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple. It sounds, oh yeah, cool, yeah, believe in what you want and you'll get everything. That's not, it really is. The hardest part about anything, the hardest part about any dream, about any aspiration to be a certain person, or to get a certain job, or to finish a certain project, it's starting. A lot of people have ideas and they don't start.
Yeah.
Once you start, whether it's putting something down on paper, whether it's, you know, getting a phone call out there, whatever, just doing something to get the wheels turning.
Yeah, it's kind of like that quote. I'm not sure if it's a Chinese quote or a Buddhism quote, but like, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, or the first step.
Yeah. And another one by, I think it was Henry Ford. He said, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we can go about quotes all day. But yeah, back to the story.
Yeah,
back to how I got into all this.
Well, but before we go, which one's your favorite Back to the Future movie? Which one out of the trilogy?
You can't do this. I love them all. They're all amazing movies.
But we all have a favorite one.
We all have a favorite one. I love Western movies, like classic Westerns. So I have to go with Back to the Future 3 because it was a ride. You know, you felt like this was like the giant big finish to this trilogy.
I know. That was one of my favorite ones too.
You know, I love I love thrills that movies give you. You know, when you go after you watch like a superhero movie or something, and you feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be Iron Man. I'm gonna go build something. You know, I'm gonna build a suit by tomorrow. Like,
build a suit.
You know, is that just me? Am I the only one that gets that feeling?
No, like I have a motorcycle, and I'll give you an example. I went to see the Mission Impossible movie last weekend, and it was an amazing movie. Like, they did a great job, and they had like an action scene in there with the motorcycles. I was riding my motorcycle. I kept like humming the Mission Impossible theme in my head. Dun, dun, dun. So like, I think movies do have that effect on you too, on me also, but on everyone.
But yeah, you know, I don't know. I just love Western movies, and at the same time, you know, speaking of space, the one thing that interests me more than space is time. Yeah. Because space you can see, even though, you know, it's blackness. Let's say space is, you know, blackness to us. We're wondering if it's, you know, what is the empty space in space? It's a vacuum. But is there antimatter? Is there such a thing as antimatter? Are there, you know, little quanta, little particles of energy sitting amongst all this blackness? And you know, we don't know a lot about space, but then there's time. Time, we can't see it, we can't manipulate it. We can manipulate space. If I have, like, you know, a cup, I can push it over and you know, the drink spills everywhere. But time, I can't just go in reverse.
No, you can't.
But what if there's a way? What if time was another, you know, the fourth dimension that we could potentially control? And the reason I say that, the reason, it sounds weird to a lot of people, the fact that, like, oh, this is, you know, this is sci-fi. You know, you can't control time. It's science fiction.
Yeah.
But there's a thing called time dilation. It's when either a certain velocity, like if you were on the International Space Station right now, you're aging a little bit slower than everybody else because you're traveling at almost 18,000 miles an hour.
Because gravity has something to do with it too. Like,
yeah, so there's gravity and there's velocity. So both of those kind of correlate together in terms of how time, you know, affects you. We all perceive time the same way. But let's say the closer you are to a massive object, like if you were inside a black hole, you would, you know, we'd be perceiving, you know, if we were to count in our head, we'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3. But in the end, once let's say you somehow get pulled out of that black hole and put back on Earth, you would be way younger than everybody else if everyone else is still alive.
Well, that's the theory of relativity, right?
It's pretty much relativity, yeah. So with relativity and with time dilation, we try to understand time a little bit better. But then you kind of look at animals like the mantis shrimp. You can see the mantis shrimp, its cones are way more advanced. I don't know the exact number of cones that it has, but it has, I think, more, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know a lot about the mantis shrimp. Yeah. But I do know that it sees more colors than we can.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
And the fact that we are this superior being on this planet, and there's a little shrimp that can see more colors than us. And we can't, like, try and think of a new color. You can't. No. If you spent your whole life's work trying to think of a new color, you can't. We can't process that. And it's like how dogs can't, you know, process certain colors. If you tell them to invent a new color, they can't. So, you know, is color a dimension? Like, we can talk, you know, we can get as deep as we want about it, but the fact that we can't perceive more colors makes me think, are we just not capable of understanding time?
I was thinking about it the other day, because I was watching a documentary on Netflix on the what's it called, that the Farragut paradox, about why we haven't encountered aliens yet.
Yeah.
And I started really thinking about it, like, I think we haven't encountered them or made communication yet because we just started. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Like NASA's
been around for 60 years. I think this week.
Yeah.
60 years.
Or like just radio communications in general. Like was it
Yep.
115, 120 years?
Yeah, something
around there.
Yeah.
But, so like, it's kind of like, to me, it's like the first step of finding your lost keys. We're still on, looking in our pockets.
Yeah, but if space exploration in general is just beginning.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
And we're going pretty fast though too.
Right. Yeah. It's it's really all money too, but space exploration has just started. We just found like 2 weeks ago 12 more moons orbiting Jupiter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's Jupiter. It's our neighbor. The fact that
which one is it, Saturn or Jupiter?
Saturn,
Europa.
Saturn,
Europa and Titan.
Titan, and wow, I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah, because
I think Europa is Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Titan is definitely Saturn.
Okay.
But man, I have to look that up. I work in a planetarium.
I know Europa.
I believe it's Jupiter.
No, I think it's Saturn. Because Titan and Europa, I believe those are the moon.
Enceladus is Saturn. Europa is a moon of... Yeah, that's why I remember. It's a Galilean moon of Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of the 4 largest moons.
All right.
So yeah, it's Jupiter. Yeah, go me. I'm a NASA astronomer that doesn't know Europa. But yeah, where were we? The story?
Oh yeah, we went down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's go back to when you were a kid.
So how I got all
there we go.
Yeah, so
Back to the Future, time travel.
Yeah, so I kind of I've learned to keep tabs in my head because I have a lot of friends who are into space and science and deep conversations like what we just had. But it would go on for hours, and then I'd be like, "Hey guys, what about tacos?" Because that would be the conversation.
The original conversation.
It's like we'd be talking about tacos, and eventually it's like, is there like which way is up really?
I do think about that a lot because of gravity, we're on the surface. Like technically, we're like walking sideways if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like Einstein said, it's all relative.
Yeah.
There's no true anything as of right now, to our understanding, unless we figure out what else is out there. And if we keep zooming out, in the planetarium that I work at the Mosh Planetarium, the Museum of Science and History. So I like to do this thing where I zoom out to the edge of existence, the edge of the universe. And, you wonder, is there anything else? If I keep zooming out, you just encounter blackness right now because we haven't discovered anything. But if I kept going, and if we just kept zooming out, how much is there really? There's the known universe, and then there's the universe.
There's and the theory of parallel universes too.
Yep. There's are there more universes? Are they completely different? Are there no such thing as colors in a universe? In one of the universes, you never know. We don't know anything right now.
Yeah, we're still
We
learning.
know a lot. We are incredible. With what we've accomplished. Human beings are just unbelievable. The fact that we've used our curiosity to kind of brainstorm what we could do, and then used our intuition and our tools to put forth that, curiosity, that, these ideas, and send them out into space, that's insane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know anything. We're just scratching the surface of the surface.
And we still don't know how gravity really works too.
Yeah. We just got the gravitational wave thing with the LIGO Observatory.
Yeah, that's right.
Kip Thorne.
Yeah, Kip Thorne. Yeah, that's right.
Kip Thorne and then 2 other guys. I feel terrible for not remembering their names.
Only reason I know Kip Thorne because he became more famous because he's kind of like the go-to guy for like space movies, like Interstellar.
Yep, I did hear about that. And I remember because Neil deGrasse Tyson actually talked about. Do you remember that wave scene in Interstellar with the giant wave?
Yeah.
So that planet was near a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how we get tides here because of our moon. We have waves because of our moon here on Earth. But because that black hole is super massive, essentially what Dr. Tyson was trying to say was that the waves should have just been a giant mess all over the planet, and that, you know, there should be crashing tsunamis into each other every like second or two, instead of just one giant wave building up in super calm, shallow water. And I don't know, it's just interesting to see, you know, art and science come together like that.
Well, one thing about Neil deGrasse Tyson, I love like listening to him. I want to get his book when that recently came out. But he also likes to ruin movies. I'm like, man, it's just a movie. This is this is a joy for what it is.
Yeah.
But I really liked how they did the black hole, because they actually really worked with astrophysicists to actually
the black hole was one of the most amazing marvels in cinema and in science too, because it not only, you know, visualized what a black hole could look like and what would happen if we went inside a black hole, but excuse me, what it, you know, it helped a lot of scientists kind of say, you know, with the event horizon, the point of which light can't escape a black hole, hence the black. What's really in it? Are there, you know, would it keep going on and on and on? Is there a central point the size of a pin where all this mass is concentrated? Or is it just a jumbled junkyard, but we can't see it because the light is sucked in too?
Yeah. Oh. Or is it like a wormhole or something? Or
a wormhole, something, you know, that teleports you?
It's going to another part of the universe, or it's going to another universe.
Or in Interstellar, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it by now.
It's been out for a few years.
Yeah.
You should have seen it.
Like we were talking about earlier, time.
Yeah.
They visualized, you know,
time.
When Matthew McConaughey, what is it? Cooper,
yeah.
So when he went into the black hole, there was a tesseract where he could manipulate time. So it was a way of saying maybe something out there that we just haven't accessed yet, haven't grasped yet, could let us have control of time. So, you know, that was his way of you know, kind of conveying that time could be somewhere controllable.
Well, I always thought, like, because it's kind of relevant to our, you know, what you're doing in our conversation, I always thought, like, the next step, or the greatest step to space travel is somehow manipulating time. Or not so much propulsion engines or fuel engines, but somehow, this is going to sound like really nerdy or geeky, kind of like not a time machine per se, or a warp system or warp core, but it's like what we were talking about the whole relativity thing. Say you're on a spaceship and you're going to Alpha Centauri. By the time you go there, explore it, come back, it'll probably be generations that have gone by on Earth. So
I mean, anything. I get what you're saying. So we need something that can buy us time.
Yeah, so that way, like, say when you leave, and you may leave, and you might be gone for like years, but when you come back, it'll be the opposite for us. Like, oh, you're only gone for a few days.
Yeah.
So that way we're not, you know, centuries hasn't gone by.
For no reason. Yeah. And again, that's time dilation. If we figure out how to travel near the speed of light, we have it. We have the universe in our hands. But even then, still, you know, not a lot we can do with it, because our galaxy alone, there are 100 billion known galaxies around there.
Known.
No. Just 100 billion. But our galaxy is 100,000 light years across.
That's right, yeah.
So if we were traveling at the speed of light, it would still take us 100,000 years just to leave our galaxy. And that's in the thing that's traveling at the speed of light.
Yeah, we're still in the Milky Way. We're still in our neighborhood.
We're never escaping this place, at least in our lifetime. But at the same time, you know, the reason we explore space is to understand here, our planet. And the overarching thing is, we want to find aliens. Why? We want to understand, are we alone or not? Why do we want to, land on other planets? To better understand Earth. If Earth gets overpopulated or if something happens, what could we do to this planet to make it look and feel like Earth? Hence Mars. So we want to understand the nature of everything around us to better benefit us here on Earth, our species and our planet, and everything that comes with it. So I don't know. I think that's even if we develop a way to do that, to time travel per se, it would help us, but at the same time it serves the same purpose.
Until we find the next step.
Until we find, because if we answer life's greatest questions,
and then say we find a civilization out there, and they took a different route with technology. It's like they come out with
there's a whole new technological revolution.
Yeah, well, they have a propulsion systems that we could never think of. It's like, oh, well,
or they
we
have
never
resources
thought about that.
that could do different things.
That's true. Have different elements. They might have, on a periodic table that we haven't discovered, but it's on their planet.
I'm more curious as to what they look like.
Well, Arrival. That movie Arrival. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Dude, you should see it. It's a really good movie about what happens if aliens actually came to visit us. And the alien, it's not a spoiler alert, but the aliens doesn't look like, they look like giant octopuses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what a lot of scientists liked about the movie. It's okay, it's not your typical green man or skinny gray man.
The giant head.
Yeah, it's just this. It's realistically that's what they might look like.
They might look totally different. We may not even. Imagine do they have just one skin color? What if they're just a giant rainbow of shades of whatever, and they can camouflage or what? Maybe they have abilities that benefit them for their purpose, on their planet. We have certain, we have this memory of retracing our steps because, human beings, we used to be primates. We used to climb trees and we had to figure out ways to get down. So we have this instinct memory of, retracing our steps, kind of working backwards, through time. And obviously chameleons, they can, change color according to...
octopuses.
Yeah.
Completely...
Octopi.
Octopi. They can completely adapt to their environment, complete camouflage, even the texture of their skin.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see. I think it really depends on what type of planet we find. If it's a land species, or if it's a water species, or if it's just, even on a gas planet, a planet with just hydrogen or helium or whatever. Are there species that can just float and just live off of that gas or whatever gas is in there?
Well, one thing always bothered me when scientists are looking for some type of biological life form, and you just kind of mentioned it's what happens, the way we evolved is because our circumstances on this planet, we're carbon-based, our sun, or we came from the oceans, now we're on the land, we're primates. What happens if they were evolved in a completely different environment, still biological or silicon or whatever, or carbon, but they evolved to match their environment. And totally different. Look completely different from us. Yeah, we can't breathe each other's atmospheres, but we can communicate.
I think we'd have the opposite problem, though.
What?
I think if we find a species that is similar to us, with the same, composed of the same things, I think the atmosphere would be the least of our problems, and I think the biggest problem is, do they speak English? Or can we understand them?
Well, that's why you need to watch that movie Arrival, because that's basically the whole movie is about communication and also about time, because they communicate. I can't ruin it for you.
Okay.
But watch it, because how you said you love the idea about time and aliens.
Check it out.
It's a really well done movie. It's really great.
That's awesome. I heard really good things about it.
Well, it's I think you get it on Netflix now, or no, not Netflix, but it's out there now.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's circle back because we went down to another
Another
rabbit
rabbit
hole, which is good. I love these conversations.
It's like a yeah.
It's like one step forward. All right, we'll take a detour, then we'll come back to the first step.
Exactly. It's like it's like if you run into a red light and you're like, oh, I don't want to sit at this red light. Let me take the 12-mile detour to get past this light. I know I would do that. The traffic here is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this part of town too.
Yeah.
Really sucks.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, before we go down a traffic hole, so here's the story. Once upon a time, when I was 7 years old, I started making movies. I started making, videos with my mom's, little tourist point-and-shoot camera. And, these were just little action movies based off of Halloween costumes I had. The first one I made this was the first video I ever made. It was called SWAT versus Tony. And it was my mom holding the camera. It was me and my brother just fighting. I was dressed in a SWAT costume, like for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just dressed as what was he dressed as? I think a pirate. So it was just a pirate and a SWAT officer just fighting. And, there was one part where, we were like doing like little slow motion parts. We were like, no. And then he's like, power sword. It's just a giant mess.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. And, it was the first time I edited a video. It was Windows Movie Maker. And then, from then on out, I'm like, wow, I like, it's one thing to play and to experience things. I did a lot of mountain biking when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And just playing and goofing around with my friends around the neighborhood when I was a kid. But then there was this aspect of creating something and something you can share with your friends and everyone sees it. And it gets inspired to do the same. So from there, I kept making videos, movies specifically, and that was until I got to high school. When I got to high school, I joined the TV production club, and I started doing more journalistic work. I started doing news stories and learned a lot more about, the professional, video editing softwares. I started competing in both radio and television, cinema too, and movie trailers, just every aspect of video production and how the audience perceives it and communication, and everything in between. That kind of helped me in this next aspect. Because one day I was assigned to do a news story. This was, I think, my sophomore year of high school. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do a news story on? I have no ideas. And then one of my best friends, his name is Eric, he came up to me and he says, oh, dude, I know this, space lady at this observatory. I don't know if you want to go. We should go. Because he was, partnered with me. And I said, huh, that sounds really cool. And then backtrack really quick. Before we get to that day, it's important to know that I've been flying all this time.
Really?
My dad is a flight instructor.
No way.
He's been, we used to go truck driving. He used to be a mover. We used to go trucking all over, the East Coast from New York to Miami and back. This was when I was 4, 5, 6. So just a few years of that. But then he decided, enough's enough. I'm going to be a flight instructor. I want to start flying for real.
What?
And so we started flying. And, my dad took me with him all the time.
Yeah.
And then eventually, my parents got divorced. It got really hard to start, to keep flying. And, I'd see him maybe once every 2 weeks.
Oh.
And then, fast forward now, back to high school, I turned 17. I was 16. And I said, hey, Dad, I want to get my pilot's license now, now that I'm old enough. Because you have to be 16 to get your pilot's license. And I started flying every day. Every single day I would train with him. Eventually I got my student license, which means you can fly by yourself. You can't take people with you. Okay. I started flying every day. I would skip TV production to go flying because I had TV production. This was my senior year of high school. I started flying every day, every single morning, and it was just a blast. Just getting hours and wasting money on jet fuel and.
Not wasting. That's actually really cool.
It's not really jet fuel though. It's 100 low lead, but we're not going to get into that. but so I became a pilot during high school, which was also it's a huge part of me, and I've always been into the physics behind how an airplane works, because this tiny little machine, this tiny little airplane that can seat 4 people, that's lighter than my car, and looks like a bug of some sort. It can fly. It can fly really high, higher than most birds, and I think all birds actually. But along with the video making and the flying came the astronomy. When I was 15, again back to that story about Eric and the woman, the astronomy lady. Yeah. We went to the observatory one night. This was a Saturday night when I was 15 years old. Beautiful, clear night. I go to the observatory and I said, "Hi, are you the space lady?" And she says, "Yes." Her name is, she's not dead, she's here. Her name is Helen Tavera. Oh, that's my bird. Say hi, Piper.
That's our next guest.
Yeah, she's next. So her name is Helen Tavera. She speaks like a bazillion languages. She flew on the Stratospheric Observatory for infrared astronomy. It's called the Sophia. It's a giant jet, a regular passenger jet with a huge. I don't know how much it weighed, but it's a lot of tons. I forgot how much it weighed, but it's this huge telescope hanging off of the back, and they use it for infrared astronomy, for studying, passing through most of our atmosphere and just kind of getting a better look at things.
Yeah.
So she flew on that a few times, and she was just super, super inspirational, and not just her, but the other astronomers there. There was another guy named Monroe Patillo. He's another very knowledgeable guy at the observatory, and he's been doing this stuff. He's like a machine with how he knows things, and you can tell that they're super passionate about everything, and everything that they were doing was just incredible. You think about a regular 9-to-5 job, and then you have, they do it for free. They volunteer at this observatory. This is a nonprofit. So this is something they do for fun, and I thought, wow, I wanted to be a part of it. So every single weekend, I would volunteer there and start learning about the planets and the stars. I became a member of the observatory. I learned how to use their telescopes and regular telescopes also, and the motorized, the computerized go-to mounts that you can just point to whatever you want. And I also wanted to be really good, so I kind of practiced on my own with my cheapo garage sale telescope, just trying to find really hard objects by yourself, because it may take an hour, but once you find it, it's insane. And sometimes it's a race against the clock with clouds or with weather and just time, because stars move throughout the night.
Yeah, and a rotation.
Yep. And I was just hooked. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. But then through high school, I was really bad at math. I was always bad at math. And it's not because I don't like it, and it's not because I'm bad at it. It's because I never put the effort into it. I never thought it would be a career of mine. I always thought I was going to do TV production. I was going to make movies and be a movie star and whatever, and that's my life. And I just kind of pushed math to the side because I never, I was like, I'm never going to use this, like everybody in high school. If I knew, I would have put so much more effort, because now, here I am, struggling through calculus, after in high school, failing Algebra 2, and, well, not failing, I was maybe 1 point away from failing. That was very, very, very intense for me. Hey, right, I know, Piper.
Yeah, I wasn't good at math in high school either.
Yeah.
Actually, in college, statistics was actually my strongest one, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But it was only a B.
Yeah. And it's the mentality, especially for me, and a lot of people, it's the mentality that, we think we're not good at math. I know I'm good at math. I can be good, really good at math if I wanted to. But sometimes it's hard to focus.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to just care enough.
Well, it's a really complicated subject to study.
Yeah, it's not a very visual subject either. You have to be really intuitive and really think about the numbers and what you're trying to find and how you're going to find it and which steps you're going to take and if there's any formulas or any specific ways you need to go about this problem. It's not fun to do sometimes. I love writing. I'm a huge writer.
Mm-hmm.
And writing, it's kind of just, and my bird just fell off the couch.
Yeah, she's cool. Yeah, she's on the ground. She's fine.
She's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But writing is just, go with the flow, whatever you feel is right. And just keep writing until your heart's content and create a story of some sort. You let your mind run wild. With math, you kind of have to structure your mind and say, okay, it's like disarming a bomb is what
yeah.
super
the systems are in place. You can't make sure you have the decimal in the right place. Also ruins the whole equation.
Yeah. Man, excuse me. But yeah, so I had all these things going on. I had the flying and the video making and the math and the astronomy. And eventually I said to myself, right before graduating high school, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is, I want to make videos. I love creating and I love, using that side of my brain to just, let everything and my creative abilities just, I just want to spit it out onto a platform. And then, of course, I believe in learning all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Never, there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that they, become ignorant at some point and just think they know everything, like our president. But, but they get to a certain point where they just think they're right and everything they're doing is right. They know everything. They've been through school and blah, 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 blah. And they just stop. They never stop and think, maybe something I'm doing is wrong, or maybe I should think about this more. And it's not that I think I'm going to become ignorant when I'm older. I mean, it helps just in case. But
Yeah.
It's mainly just to have all parts of my brain working and to constantly question and stay curious about things and always feel like I need to improve. Because in the end, the point of being a human being is being a better version of yourself every day and learning new things.
I think I can't remember where I read this from. I think the Dalai Lama says something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the wise man who has the ability to say I don't know and continues to learn.
Yeah. It's like it's like trying to say I'm sorry in a really intense argument, or I'm wrong. It's hard. It's hard to we all want to be superior. We don't want to be inferior. It's human. But your strength really shows where you're, when you're willing to compromise to better yourself and your surroundings. And that includes, sometimes making yourself, a little bit lesser, and saying, I'm not the best, or I'm not, right, or I'm not whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not something. I'm not what I thought I was.
I don't think it's lesser. It's just being honest. It's like
you're right. It's not lesser. It's just
that's how you get better, or that's how you actually become stronger. Is where you just admit that, like,
but
I'm weak in this area. I'm weak.
Feel lesser, and that's why a lot of people refuse to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They'd rather be ignorant and sit in their high chair than spend a night in the corner thinking about something. If you did something wrong, or if you've been thinking about things the wrong way, or whatever it is, but then in the end you grow as a person forever, and as long as you maintain your core values. So I don't know, I just think that's super important. Oh, that's my neighbor Jane.
Oh, okay. I thought the bird somehow got above me.
Yeah, the bird opened the door. Yeah. So my bird's name is Piper, named after the plane manufacturer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And also there was one time there was a little girl that came to the planetarium show that I had a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And her name was Piper. I was like, she asked me a question, and I said, "What's your name?" And she's like, "Oh, Piper." And I'm like, "Wow, that's a really nice name." So I was just like, "Oh, perfect." named after an airplane. And it's funny because my bird can't fly.
Yeah, bird. Yeah,
I can fly, but my bird can't.
Yeah, he's just walking around chilling. Have you ever brought the bird with you on a flight?
I have not. She's a baby. She's, just a few months old.
Oh, okay.
She's a cockatiel. But eventually I want to, she's still training technically. She's still kind of getting, used to the schedule because, I'm in and out of the house all the time. It sucks. I wish I had more time to spend with her. But, eventually I want to get her a harness and just take her everywhere once she kind of understands what's going on.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had pet iguana, and that's what we did. We brought the iguana everywhere we had. Like
you had an iguana on a leash.
Yeah.
That's
It wasn't a big one. It was still like probably a foot and a half long. That's it.
And I'm from South Florida. We have iguanas running all over the place. We have these giant red ones, like 4 foot long iguanas, and they're massive and scary. They look like dinosaurs, honestly.
Because they are.
Yeah,
they are dinosaurs.
Modern dinosaurs.
So what? Going back to before we go down another rabbit hole. Okay, so did the math. You're in high school.
So through that observatory, the Fox Observatory, after I began volunteering for a while, they awarded me with the NASA Night Sky Astronomy certification. So because of my engagement with the public and my public outreach and my ability to use my videos to I have a science show called The STEM, and I go to schools all the time, elementary, middle, high schools, preschools.
Oh, that's cool.
And just kind of I like to just answer questions and try and spark a little something in young brains, if you will. Just because I do that, they gave me a cool little pin and a NASA certificate, and I'm a NASA certified astronomer with the Night Sky Network. So it's a cool thing to have, when people come up to you and say, "Oh, you're 20 years old. How good can you be?" And I said, "Well, here's my pin."
Here's my pin. Here's my pin.
That's seriously, it's seriously a problem. Excuse me, I have a lot of mucus buildup lately.
Yeah, you told me before you had a cold.
Yep, sucks. There's another student astronaut finalist. His name is Ron Sparkman. And a part of his video, in your video, your student astronaut video. Yeah, I gotta blow my nose.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Yeah, being sick is the worst. You know how you take breathing for granted.
Yeah, I always hate getting colds. So get stuffy, and you always, especially at night when you wake up, you start coughing and hacking.
That's the worst. I remember the morning. The morning that I was really sick was the day I had to film my video, my student astronaut video.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a second. But the Ron Sparkman, another student astronaut finalist, he's 37, I believe. And a big part of his video, in your video, you have to say or kind of state something you're passionate about, and something why you should be selected, and what you personally bring to the table. And his was one of his main messages was that it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter what your background is, where you come from. You can do space. You can study space. You can be a part of our community, and you can be a student astronaut if you wanted to. And I totally believe that. With me, it's a problem, and it's weird that it's a problem. I don't know why this is a thing, but I'm too young. A lot of people say I'm too young, especially in the planetarium. I'd have, a lot of older guys who, argue with me about things that I definitely reviewed before a show I'm giving to thousands of people a week.
Yeah.
And they'd argue with me, and they would tell me, this happened a few times in my career over the past year, where they would say, what are you, a student? I'm like, I'm the one controlling the planetarium.
And even if
who are you?
Or even if you that argument, or you students, that means you have more access to the most relevant information or most recent information, so you still would know more.
But it's not even about the arguing. Arguing is great, but some people just don't argue in a civil way. Some people just argue for the sake of proving a point. People who have a very small background in space exploration, they'd come up and just try and put you down, and it's not just me. I've seen it with a lot of people who are in my school's astronomy club that are older. A lot of the younger kids, people my age or a little bit older than me, they kind of shun these people for going to school late, and it sucks to see. It's not, this isn't a one-way street for everybody. Everybody has a different timeline for what they do with their lives.
Yeah.
And, the toxicity and the, I don't know, just the immaturity of how people conduct conversation and arguments and the way people just present themselves. That's something we don't want in the space community. Because right now, especially with the student astronaut finalists, it's so amazing and warm and welcoming. And for me, who's someone who was never good at math, that's what got me into it. People who, at the observatory, they didn't care how good I was at algebra. They just cared how much I wanted it. And I wanted it. And guess what? Here I am, a student astronaut finalist. And along with a bunch of other amazing student astronaut finalists. We have a group chat together. We're sharing ideas, kind of, asking each other, where we're from, what we do, what opportunities are available. And we're just kind of building a community amongst ourselves. And one of us is going to be going to Russia to do the cosmonaut training. It's not going to be all of us. We're competing against each other. We should be feisty and super, trying to put people down, but why?
Yeah, why?
There's no reason. From all the video competitions I've done, there was a lot of, sabotage and a lot of just, trying to distract the other teams. And, I never did that. I never believed in that sort of stuff. A lot of cheating and a lot of, bending of the rules. But why? In the end, if you win, you didn't win.
Yeah.
You bought your way into winning, or you cheated your way into winning, and that's not winning.
I always told myself this because I saw it when I was a kid, people cheating, and I just always told myself, like, no, I'd rather just earn the F than cheat an A.
Yeah. And, let's say, if I lose the student astronaut contest, and I think if any of the finalists lose, I think we can all agree that it's better to have this community now of, people who made it this far than for one person to win and then everyone else be envious.
Well,
it's not fun.
That's a really healthy way of looking at it. And plus, what you guys are doing, it's like building. You guys are building like a legacy because for future pioneers. Because space is the final frontier, unless we find something else.
Yeah, space too.
Unless we there's parallel dimensions. We found out we have to go explore that. But I think the whole space exploration should be the best of us.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have like the worst of us out there or pioneering that.
And it kind of makes sense because NASA doesn't want to select astronauts who are not going to work together.
That's true.
Because the people who ultimately go to space, not just NASA, any space agency around the world, they want people who can communicate, people who are willing to share their ideas for a greater purpose, and to commit to that cause, and to be willing to accept failure. That's what makes someone stronger, and that's what will ultimately let somebody get ahead in their career. And in the end, our species. That's what we want out of astronauts, people who can effectively do their job while at the same time inspiring the world to do the same.
It's like, are you a fan of Star Trek?
A little bit. I'm more Star Wars.
Well,
I never really had a chance to watch the originals. I watched a few, episodes, but I've never watched Star Wars or Star Trek.
Yeah.
Religiously.
Well, like I love Like I grew up watching Star Trek, and I still have like some of the like the little Starship, the Enterprise, the toy models. But I love that Gene Roddenberry, and a little tidbit that not a lot of people know, that he used to be a cop. He's an ex-cop, or he was a
Really?
sheriff for the LA Sheriff's Office while he was doing trying to get Star Trek off the ground. But his whole concept was a really this kind of like egalitarian concept of the future where we're working to better ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of space exploration. And when Star Trek came out back in the 60s to 70s, it was a big deal because you had a black woman in the officer's position.
Mm-hmm.
You had a Russian. You had an Asian. You had Spock, that was the alien.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, they were the best in their fields. Then you had Captain Kirk, who was the best at leadership. And he knew how to... He knew when he say...
Yeah.
He knew when to
way
say...
ahead of its time.
Yeah. He knew how to let people work their area of expertise. He gave them the reins. He also knew how to like guide them to the mission. But the whole idea is like, this is the best of us. We don't have to judge on race. We don't have to judge on religion.
Definitely.
Well,
Genders.
gender or stuff like that. But we are we're trying to bring the compassion part or the intellectual intellectual part of us into space.
Yeah.
And then the idea that like, we're doing this because we're explorers.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just people who are in the space industry. I think deep down inside of most of humanity, we have this sense of exploring, and we all kind of want to be a part of the next human, the next, I guess, frontier is the only word I can think of right now.
Yeah, next frontier.
Sure. Then we all want to be a part of the next frontier, and a lot of people don't get into it because it's intimidating. There's a lot, becoming an astronaut, the chances are slimmer than getting into Harvard.
Yeah, it's hard.
By far.
It's really hard.
I think it's like, 1.8%? Or
wow.
No.
Like,
It was
probably
like
less than that.
Way, way less. Considering the latest run of applications for astronauts, it was way larger. The applicant pool was way larger than ever before in this last run. And it's getting harder and harder. More people want to be involved in space, and now we're talking about space commercialization and space tourism. So more and more people want to be a part of it. A lot more people, many people want to go to space to feel weightless.
Yeah.
Many people want to go to space to be
Just to
part
see
of
it.
the journey.
Yeah.
To there are many different reasons. Everyone has a different
To actually
reason.
see the Earth.
To see the Earth.
For the whole thing as it is.
Yeah. Man, that's something else.
That's gotta be like really just mind bending. Like
mind banging.
Buzz Aldrin looking back and it's like, oh my God, that's Earth. That's everything that is and will be right there.
And it's amazing because during the Apollo era, there was no space station orbiting Earth like we have right now. And when they were orbiting the moon, and when they landed on the moon, and when they looked back, that little pale blue dot, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is humanity and the world and culture and religion and science as we know it. Everything we know and love is on that planet. And slowly, that's going to expand out. Maybe in 20 years, if we're looking at Earth from the moon, we'll say, there's a good portion of humanity. The rest is on that red one.
And after that?
After that?
I don't know. What's after that? The asteroid belt?
Hopefully one of Saturn's moons. We're hoping,
Europa,
maybe
Titan.
Jupiter doesn't have 79 moons. Maybe it has 200. One of them could have an atmosphere.
Wait, it has that many moons?
Maybe. It has Jupiter has 79.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Saturn has 62. As of right now.
Because I always... okay, maybe I only heard of the big ones. That's why.
We have, so there are 4 big ones, the Galilean moons, the ones we can see with telescopes. And then, there are a bunch of other moons. But a lot more are getting discovered every day, and our technology is getting better, and more importantly, we're learning how to use our technology better.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're doing that, we begin to discover more and more, faster and faster. And, there's also ideas of living on one of the moons, and people say that's not possible, that's so far away from the sun. But let's say...
Yeah, because I was just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm. But what if we find a planet, a moon, let's say, on Jupiter or Saturn, that has a really thick atmosphere with a bunch of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, the stuff that's warming the Earth right now. But at the same time, it's breathable. Or maybe it's not. Maybe we have to terraform it a little bit, kind of turn it into an Earth 2.0 somehow. But maybe because it has a little bit more greenhouse gases than Earth does, maybe it uses the radiating energy from Jupiter or Saturn, these giant gas giants, and obviously the light reflected from the sun, and, the sun's light as well, to heat up the planet and keep it at a normal temperature. Titan, Saturn's moon, is the most Earth-like object in the solar system. It has an atmosphere. It has oceans. The only problem is it's
methane. Right?
Methane.
Yeah.
Lightning storms. It's not a fun place. But it's more so like Earth than Mars is, and so that brings moons into the question. Maybe soon asteroids will start trying to understand. Maybe we can build little biodomes inside of asteroids.
Or use geothermal vents.
Yeah.
For heat.
A lot of very interesting ideas. And, it's important to start thinking about these things now because, soon there's going to be 12 billion people on this planet. It's going to be insane. And we got to start preparing for that. Within our lifetimes, we may have 10 billion. 10 billion.
Well,
scary.
Well, Stephen Hawking.
Traffic's bad enough.
Well, I think Stephen Hawking was the one who's he was for colonization. He said let's put it this way: we need to hedge our bets.
Yeah.
It's like we're lucky so far with asteroids and comets or a super volcano hasn't exploded. We need to actually, start spreading out now.
But me personally, I think we need to focus more on Earth because it's like saying there's a nice bowl, there's a very nice looking salad, and then you have a tiny little slice of a carrot. Do you want to invest more on this beautiful salad, or do you want to just dump a bunch of dressing on that piece of carrot?
Yeah.
And this planet is our planet. This is our home, and it'll always be our home. Even if we find exoplanets and somehow manage to get there, this will always be human beings' home. And of course, all the animals that live here. So I think it's super important to focus on transportation, making it more energy efficient, more sustainable with the resources that we use, and somehow making it renewable, somehow cooling down the oceans and sucking the carbon back in somehow, because it's a problem. The carbon that we're emitting is settling onto the ocean surface, and the oceans are getting warmer. I went scuba diving a few weeks ago in the Bahamas, and all of the coral, except for maybe one, was dead. All of it dead. It was amazing to see the ecosystem, that these fish created, and all the different organisms that like the living organisms that the fish live inside. But then the coral, it's all bleached. Coral is supposed to be purple. It was all white coral, and there was one that was purple, but you see the tips kind of turning white. It's going soon, and it's depressing. The Great Barrier Reef taking a huge toll, and it's no surprise, and it's happening very fast, and it's happening right now because of what we're doing to our planet. And you may think it's getting better because back then we had the industrial age, and we were using a lot of coal and really dirty energy. But at the same time, now there's more people.
That's true.
We need more energy.
Resources.
We're still using coal, even if we use electric cars. In the end, the charging stations are powered by the coal that's transported from these trains into generating stations. We're still using coal. And nothing's changed.
And the only kind of I think because I've been abroad, and I like how I see Spain, Italy, Germany, especially Germany. Solar panels on just residential houses, businesses, and it just made sense. And then I'll come back out here to the States. It's you rarely see it, and I think it's so stupid. We could lower.
The sun provides so much energy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that we're not investing in this right now.
It's so and
yes,
yeah, it's so stupid.
10 years ago, okay, we didn't. Solar was expensive.
Yeah.
It's getting cheaper and cheaper now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But now we have all these laws here in the U.S. that kind of, prevent, people from, installing solar panels. I know that was a big thing in the last election.
Yeah, the last election.
What was that? That was.
Well, I remember my friend had sent me the article. And it was actually legitimately from I think from Forbes that wrote the article. These freaking energy companies try to get this bill passed, and they worded it in a way, because I read it when the first time I read it, I thought it was okay, but when the article came out, it's like, okay, reread it, and reread it is basically the whole thing was like, if you were to use your money, buy your own solar panels and your own batteries, then you go off the grid, then you will have to pay money to the energy.
Yeah.
For the power you're collecting on your own. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, then it get passed. But
yeah, I think the only way we can move forward, or at least one of the only ways, is for power companies to die. The unfortunate thing is, they're not going to die out. There's still things that need to be powered by coal.
Yeah.
But homes, for instance, easily solar. Mm-hmm. Easily all homes in the U.S. could be powered by solar energy, and energy could be, free in homes. And let's say the power companies want to continue to power larger buildings that may need more than solar.
Like hospitals.
Yeah, exactly. And things that, need to be, if we have some sort of hurricane that
mm-hmm.
comes in, that's the only way we can get power. And, there's no sun for a while. And just buildings that, factories, things that really need a lot of power. I think that's the only way. And maybe power companies and energy companies, they should focus more on developing the solar panels and, maintenance for solar panels and solar services. That's the only way we're going to save.
Well, that's one thing that pissed me off about the last election, about the whole promise about coal. It's and it's so stupid. Like, coal's a dying industry. We're moving away from that, and I know they're worried about money and jobs. And I think the smartest thing they could have done is all right, well, what's that freaking, not tariffs, when government hangs, not stipends, when the government gives money for encourage businesses or something. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Commodity? No.
Not commodity.
I have no idea.
Okay, well,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so so West Virginia, those coal miners, okay, why don't you get some of these solar companies or some of these wind turbine companies to encourage some of it to set factories up over there, or then retrain workers, the coal workers. Okay, well, I know you guys are losing jobs, but hey, let the federal government put monies all right, if you bring your solar business over here, we train these guys, give them jobs, then we'll give you X amount of money to do it. Mm-hmm. It's just the smartest thing. Okay, you save jobs, you grow an industry that's actually growing, that's actually helpful to the environment. It's a new source of power, or a new source of gathering power.
And of course, the government is there to kind of keep things under control, to make sure nothing goes haywire and things don't change drastically. We have a giant freak out. But, there are some strings that need to be pulled to get, things moving
mm-hmm.
with this. Because, if no one does, this is going to be a decades-long process. And it's amazing to see how one person, Elon Musk,
yeah.
This guy, I think every reaction to Elon Musk is just, this guy.
Yeah, this guy.
He has a rocket company, an electric car company, and
PayPal.
Now he wants to start Solar City. Yeah, PayPal, of course.
The boring company too. The flamethrower. The flamethrower gun.
This guy.
He said we just made it just to make it.
Well, they made the flamethrowers to fundraise for the boring company.
Really? Oh.
So that's so for my company, for my video company,
mm-hmm.
I've sold T-shirts and I've sold stickers.
He sold flamethrowers.
He sold flamethrowers.
He sold.
Well, it's not a flamethrower technically.
Well, it's just propane, right? You just get a propane.
Well, okay, so a flamethrower, there's a certain distance the flame has to go mm-hmm. in order for it to be considered a flamethrower. Technically, it's called not a flamethrower.
Oh,
That's what it's
okay,
called.
yeah.
Not a flamethrower. So Elon Musk called it that because it's technically like a barbecue torch, because the flame doesn't go that far.
Okay. Well, it still looks cool.
Yeah, it still looks cool, obviously. If you walk around with that thing, that's
still cool. Like
Yeah.
that's still like a little cool toy to have. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's this?
I wish I bought one. They were they're $500, but
That's-
I would
yeah.
totally get one of those just to say, yeah, I started the Boring Company with a flamethrower. But with he's investing in something called Solar City, which
Mhm.
is roof tiles that are solar panels. And it sucks to see that him and the people he's associated with, it seems like they're the only ones doing anything about it.
I don't think.
And of course, there are of course people working in solar,
Mhm.
but people who have that kind of wealth and power investing in things like this and trying to push forward with your abilities, like how LeBron James started that school.
That was pretty cool.
That's why isn't Jeff Bezos doing anything about this? Why? And it's not like they have to. If
Yeah.
you earn your wealth, do what you will.
Mm-hmm.
But why not?
Well, it's like,
Even just give money to someone who will.
well, I was talking to my mom and my father-in-law not father-in-law, but stepfather yesterday. How you see how Bill Gates and Warren Buffett they are trying to give away their wealth. They are like, hey, we're gonna give away our wealth and try to help people doing it. And they're both actually started making like a little friendly competition to work together to actually try to change the world with all that money they have. Then you see like everybody kind of like worships Steve Jobs, and he did like he did a really cool thing. It's no knowledge. I don't want to like talk down on anything he did, but the guy was also an asshole too.
How come?
The way he treated his daughter, the way he treated his employees, and also for a man who practiced Buddhism, he his factory in China has suicide nets.
Really?
Yeah, because the hours they work and just people could try to commit suicide. Yeah.
I heard a lot of really intense things from people who worked, for Amazon. And me, I'm a huge Amazon user. I love Amazon, but at the same time,
Well,
it is a growing industry and it's growing fast. But there's a lot of we can't, in the end, we can't blame anyone for using their wealth a certain way.
yeah.
If you earned if I had $1 million and I wanted to buy myself a rocket ship or something, build myself a small rocket, I can do that instead of helping children in need or whatever, fundraising for a certain
Can you
thing.
bring the mic just a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. There we go. That's better.
There we go. Hi. Yeah. So, if I had a ton of money and I didn't want to invest it in, something that could help the greater good, I don't have to, and you can't blame people who don't. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of guts to get to that point where you have a lot of money and a lot of power in the world, and say, I want to change it. I want to make this a better place.
Yeah, I remember talking to one guy because I was like actually like talking about Elon Musk, and he had like a really cynical view about him. It's like, man, it's like he's just doing it for the money. I'm like, no, like someone like him, like he's actually the SpaceX program. That's all his wealth. He's gambling all his wealth for that program. Like that sounds. Somebody's not doing that because he wants to get rich.
Mm-hmm. He's rich.
Yeah.
He doesn't need money.
Yeah. He could fail epically. He's like, but that's not the point. Like he wants to actually. He believes to go into space.
Yep.
He believes in the whole idea where we're talking about humanity. Like,
Yep.
hey, let's grow. Let's go be explorers.
Yeah. And check it out. Because of that gamble, in my opinion, I think it's the most successful rocket company in our day.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like you watch the YouTube video of the
boosters coming down.
The boosters coming out.
That is
landing.
It's still. I think it boggles pretty much everybody's minds. The fact that you can launch something 100 kilometers up,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring it back down to the same exact spot, or to a bullseye, and land it. That's insane. The Falcon Heavy launch was also incredible. It happened, they landed 2 of those successfully, which is insane for, how much money are we saving on space travel now?
Well, I think like the last launch he had when he had his Tesla in the payload.
Yeah, that was the Falcon
And the
Heavy.
spaceman. Yeah, I think that was a big FU to everyone that doubted him. It's like, it's like that was the biggest FU.
That was his personal car.
He launched the car in space just to say like, hey.
Oh yeah, well, and it's funny because a lot of people are saying, oh, why would he waste so much money on launching a car into space? And he could have launched something useful, or like a satellite.
Well, that was actually useful. The
thing is, it was a test flight. People forget it's a test flight, and that car was a dummy weight to see. It's a Tesla. It has really heavy lithium-ion batteries. These are very, very heavy. It's a very good dummy weight.
Yeah.
So if you have this huge payload that weighs a lot, you don't want something very expensive and valuable to be in that payload. Like a satellite or something that needs to be, spot on, like a couple $1 million, investment in, some sort of science project. So he said, instead I'm going to launch my car, and there's going to be a spaceman in it.
Yeah, and that suit the spaceman's wearing is actually like a prototype. They were actually testing the suit.
It's a real spacesuit.
Yeah,
so a few days ago they announced the commercial crew astronauts, which basically they're going to be the first people to launch from the United States since the space shuttle in 2011, Space Shuttle Atlantis. And they're going to be wearing these new spacesuits. And I cannot wait to see them wearing this.
It's going to look pretty cool. I know it's going to, like the way, like what I saw from that video, like, man, it looks like a pretty epic spacesuit. Like, like what you kind of see in the movies.
Yep.
Like it's slimmed down.
Yep.
It looks less bulky. It looks like more maneuverable.
Yeah. And it really puts the whole superhero feel in being an astronaut. You look at astronauts and people like firefighters too, and you see them as heroes. And it's not just because they're doing amazing things for humanity, but just because they look cool.
Yeah, they look cool to the uniforms.
And I think it's important because your first impression is sometimes the most important. Well, a lot of times the most important, because you look at astronauts, and you look at their spacesuit and the rocket, and you get this whole idea of what's going on, and you say, I want to be a part of that. I want to wear that spacesuit. I want to be in that spaceship, and I want to go to space. And you look at firefighters, and you see like their cool fire trucks and their tech and their these giant hoses and their helicopters, and just the way that they carry people out from a house on fire as it's crumbling down. You want to be a part of these things because it's heroic and it's amazing. And now, the fact that it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie or something out of like an Avengers movie, is really cool.
Like bringing back to Star Trek, they have a new Star Trek show coming up, and it came out this past year called Star Trek Discovery, and I fell in love with it. It was like a good another chapter to the actual Star Trek story, and they did a good job keeping up with the ideas of the show. But they were talking about, like, remember it takes place in the future. They're having like a little speech about like the pioneers of space, and it said like Buzz Aldrin, Einstein, Edison, or like people that helped with that stuff. But they also said Elon Musk. It's like, oh, that's nice. That's what's going to happen in the future with that guy. It's like people go look back at him. It's like he helped space exploration like tremendously, like exponentially.
Oh my gosh! Like, and also not just Elon Musk. There's so many others like Blue Origin, and one of my favorites, Virgin Galactic.
That's right.
There's Richard Branson. So what this company is doing, I think, is very, very impressive, and was actually one of, back then one of my ideas for a space company. or for a rocket company, if you will. And that's having a rocket attached to a plane, fly the plane as high as you can, and launch the rocket from there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. And I think it's absolutely brilliant for space tourism. Because you're taking a plane, something that's very, very cheap to fly compared to a rocket, going through as much atmosphere as you can, most of the trouble, about 50,000 feet, and then launching a rocket, and then calling it a day. Saving a lot of fuel. And if we imagine combining absolutely everything in terms of space exploration. So, it lands, I believe, like a shuttle, the VSS Unity.
Yeah.
So, it pretty much takes off from a plane, launches from that plane, and then, kind of glides back. But I think right now it's suborbital flight, so it's not in orbit yet, even low Earth orbit.
Well, I haven't heard from that Virgin Galactic in a long time. So are they still doing that?
They're still flying, yeah.
Okay.
There was that tragedy that happened a while ago, but I'm happy that they kind of got back on their feet.
What was the tragedy?
I think it was I don't remember exactly. This is me super tired after a day at the planetarium talking for like 5 hours a day, talking about space for that long. But I think a pilot died and somebody else was injured. I don't remember, but definitely, it was a huge hit for Virgin Galactic and kind of put a hold on everything they were doing. But they got back up, and they're doing it again, and it's awesome. It's really, really awesome.
That's gonna happen. They're doing things that are huge steps forward for like technology, science, flight, and you're playing around with rocket fuel too. So there's gonna be accidents.
Oh yeah. I got about a half an hour or so.
Yeah, when you just said that about the you being on work all day, I'm like, yeah, let me get this out of the way.
Oh,
so
you're good. You're good.
Yeah, well, I know you're tired, man. So I want to thank you again for doing this.
This is fun.
No, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But
wonder where my bird is. She just kind of. Do you see her anywhere? Just hanging around.
I heard her behind me.
Yeah, she's chilling. It's
yeah, she's walking around somewhere.
Sure.
All right, guys. If you guys are fans of the show, my growing audience, or first comers, these questions are interpersonal questions, basically psychological questions that kind of help reveal a person's like kind of more inner self. I ask these questions to every guest because I have different people come on the show. Like I have prostitute, ex-cop, former soldier, and everyone has different viewpoints from different parts of the world, different perspectives, and I try to ask these questions to show people that no matter what you disagree about with a person, they're still a person, and we could all relate to one another. So that's why I ask these questions.
Let's do it.
All right. Given the chance of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
Huh. Wow, that's interesting. I really got to think about this one. This is really... There's just so much. Man, I'm really thinking hard about this one. Because there's so many on my mind. You obviously have the Neil Armstrongs and the Martin Luther King Jr. and the Albert Einsteins. But I feel like I want to talk to somebody from the early 1500s.
Really? Why?
Or probably Nicholas Copernicus.
Copernicus.
Because, not Nicholas, I want to talk to somebody very, very average, right before Copernicus's time. Mm-hmm. Because that was the time where we thought the Earth was the center of the universe. We were geocentric. And I just wanted to know, we understood that, like, it was past ancient Greece. We understood that, oh, they're not gods. They're, they're not mythical creatures floating in the sky. The constellations, they're a tool, we use here on Earth. But it was a time where we didn't understand anything. And I just want to talk to somebody.
Well, it depends what part of the world you're at, because you go, the Black Ages, but if you go to the Middle East, you had, I think around that time, that's when they were actually doing astronomy and astrology.
There was a lot of people doing astronomy. But just to be able to see a very, very shallow perspective of what we theorize the sky was, like it's mainly just getting a consensus.
Well, you have to go back in time for that. Go find a flat earther. Yeah, go talk to those people. It's probably the same people. Actually, I read somewhere.
Probably time traveled.
No, I read somewhere that even in the Dark Ages, they knew the Earth was round. Mm-hmm. They accepted it's like, well, the moon is round. Yeah. And the sun is round, so the Earth got to be round. That's their logic, but they knew the Earth was round.
Exactly. So I don't know how much I want to talk to a flat earther. I mean, you have to be pretty special in this day and age. Yeah. A pretty unique mind to believe the Earth is flat.
Not a unique mind. You just gotta be It's not you're ignorant at that point. Like
It's beyond ignorant. I think it's just denial at that point. I think it's just an ultra level of hipster.
It's
delusional. Yeah, that's the word for it.
It's borderline schizophrenia, I believe.
And so, some of them have valid arguments. Like, well, not valid. I wouldn't call them valid. But for example, like the moon landing stuff. One of my best friends, which is strange, actually thinks the first moon landing was faked.
I keep hearing that.
But I kind of get it, because it's the last thing you would expect out of that time period. And obviously you have all the, people looking at the shadows of the pictures and the lighting and blah, 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 and checking, they see like a little twinkle and they think it's a string that was holding them up. But then you have, the actual politics behind it. Because if you think about it, why did we go to the moon? It wasn't, because of John F. Kennedy's speech. It was, we wanted to beat the Russians.
Yeah.
And
that's still a badass speech, though. I love listening to that.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's what drove everybody. But in the end, back then, it was all politics. It was all, a race, and now it's same thing's happening now, except it's privatization,
which is good.
We need it though.
Yeah.
We need something to drive us, because
competition is a good thing if it's done right.
Yeah, and awesomely, us and the Russians are doing so well together in the space industry. And I always believed in not letting a government represent the entirety of a culture and a people.
That's true.
Because you hear, what do we hear today about Russia? We hear collusion, and we hear like communism, and we hear we hear so much, like so many weird things about Russia that are totally not true if you were to go to the country.
Well, let's think about the whole. You have governments going after each other, but
the people.
But it's not representing the population.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking
about. It's just you hear it's basically 1,000 assholes, like trying almost starting wars with each other, and while the rest of the population, like I'm pretty sure if you get a couple of rednecks from Alabama and then a couple rednecks from Russia, they bring them together. They're gonna have a good time together.
Yeah.
If once they go past the language barrier, like fuck it.
Or even even students who are interested in space in the U.S. and then people who want to be cosmonauts in Russia.
Yeah. It's like the same mindsets.
It's not even similar interests. Even someone who likes cooking in Russia and someone who likes to to plant trees or something. I don't know. Just it's anything. It's really anything as long as you know what it feels like. It's like when you have like a best friend, right? And let's say the parents, like two of the moms, like your mom and your best friend's mom, they kind of get into a fight and they don't let you talk to them anymore. That's what it feels like. But that's definitely not the case. I don't know. It's always so important to consider everything that's going on, and not be so quick to come to conclusions based off of what the government is telling you, or not what the government is telling you, but what's going on in the government.
Yeah.
Or with the government.
And remember, these are people that, not all of them. There are good politicians. There are good politicians.
Oh, of course.
But a good portion of them are in someone's pocket. And so,
yeah, there's a lot. It's a whole field. It's a whole game that a lot of us don't understand, and that's why we see a lot of videos today of people not answering certain questions, and like Trump's EPA pick.
that prick.
Who wanted to, or he was a candidate. I don't know what's happening now, but he was basically denying climate change the whole time, and he wanted to be the environmental ambassador for the United States. And that's, someone, he's in someone's pockets, for sure.
We're living in a crazy time. I think when we get older, we're
gonna look back on this and say, "Wow, we
survived this.
A mess." Yeah,
we survived it.
Survived World War III.
Nah, hopefully it'll never come to that.
Hopefully not.
That's something that I don't think the Earth could survive.
Yeah, at this point.
Too many nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what would constitute a perfect day for you?
Oh man, a perfect day. I wouldn't have a cell phone on me.
Yeah, that's becoming a problem.
It sucks. I went on a cruise and, I couldn't use my cell phone, and I realized how much I relied on it and how much my hand was like twitching, checking my pockets every 2 seconds for a phone. Even right now, my hand's on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm not even using it, and my hand's just touching. But the perfect day, it would be in space.
Floating.
I would be spending the day with a bunch of really cool stuff, like water bottles and
the paste.
Ooh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
The perfect day, or a perfect day at least, would be me with a camera in the International Space Station making a movie. What's interesting is that I've always thought about combining the two, being an astronaut and making movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's no tripods in space.
No.
You don't need anything in space. It's just you and the camera, a tiny poke on the camera, and you have this beautiful, fluid, slow movement.
Yeah, it's a smooth transaction.
And for me, I just bought a dolly, which is like the 3 wheels that go underneath your tripod to get smooth motion. I got one of those for the my student astronaut video. And, I also have a little camera stabilizer, and, you experiment with a bunch of things. There are obviously $1,000 ones that I'm not going to invest in because they're just so expensive.
The $1,000 ones are the ones that you wear as a harness, right?
Those are way, way expensive. Those are like tens of thousands of dollars.
Ooh.
But then you have these little, they're pretty new. The reason I'm not investing is because they're going to get so cheap.
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to get cheaper in the future. Kind of like drones. A drone that was $1,000 a few years ago is now $300.
Mm-hmm.
And technology is constantly evolving, which is good. But I also, I don't want to get this robotic steady cam for $1,000 where I can practice and try and be as mechanical as I can until the technology evolves. And by the time we have all these amazing, robotic, cameras that can do things on their own, I'm still going to know my roots.
Yeah.
I'm still going to know what to do if I'm stuck with a regular, primitive camera with wheels.
Plus, like, every director has their own, like, filming style, like, with a camera.
Yeah.
You could, like, Spike Lee has a way, where he frames movement, like with someone. Oh yeah,
Quentin Tarantino, just different color schemes. Wes Anderson's very still.
I love Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson is very, very still. Lots of vibrant colors.
Christopher Nolan has a great way of filming.
I like Christopher Nolan's style in some of his movies. Some of his movies are a little darker for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which, I mean, it's good. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of doesn't want to make me watch it as a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
me, I love movies like Forrest Gump. I'm a huge Robert Zemeckis fan, my favorite director of all time. He's so, it feels like, it doesn't, his movies, it's not like you're watching a movie, it's like you're watching someone's life. Forrest Gump, easily one of the most incredible, if not my favorite movie ever. Just because it's a story of this guy who just, is a little bit special.
But he lived
But
an
at the same
amazing
time,
life.
he lived the most incredible life anybody can live. And he changed the world without even knowing it. It's just so stupidly funny. On the, a lot of people don't get a lot of the references in Forrest Gump, but once you see it, if you rewatch it, it's just so funny. And it's so same thing with Back to the Future. It's so lighthearted and so true to what humans feel.
Well, the great thing about Back to the Future, and nobody really appreciates this, is the attention to detail.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's the one thing we studied in my film class when I watched it. The crazy attention to detail in the background.
yeah, like especially with the time change, the scenery, like it basically is consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely consistent. Like it's
Yeah.
really just amazing how
Yeah.
detailed
And this is
the origin.
1985 and 1989 and 1990, the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
For its time, it was insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible how they were able to do it. There's my bird again, chirping away. in
That's
Margaritaville. But I don't know. It's just something about, and now Robert Zemeckis, Bob Zemeckis. He has a new movie coming out called Welcome to, what is it? Marwin? Welcome to Marwin.
Oh yeah, I saw commercials for that.
Steve
Looks
Carell.
pretty good.
That looks incredible. And I'm just, if I had to call anyone an inspiration for my videos, it's him, because I love the realness and the close proximity to the viewer, like the audience and the actual characters. It just feels, it's fun to watch. Like I can watch Back to the Future 1,000 times and not get sick of it, which I think is pretty cool.
I feel like watching that after this. I'll probably go home and try to look for it.
Yep.
All right. Do you have a secret hunch on the way you'll die?
A secret hunch?
Yeah.
How do I think I'll die?
Mm-hmm.
I hope not in space.
Maybe the best way.
I mean,
Like, yeah, fuck it.
If I had to go,
Let's go to space.
if I had to go, man, I do have this huge fear of not dying but getting old.
Really?
Just I used to do a lot of gymnastics. I still kind of do. I do a lot of rock climbing today.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that me, I'm not old, but like I'm getting older. Like I'm out of puberty and I'm starting to.
You're 20. Yeah, like
I'm 20. Yeah.
you're 20. I'm 30. I'm starting like, man, I'm getting old. And somebody like 40 and 50 is like, man, you're still 30.
You're a kid. Yeah.
You're still a kid. It's all about perspective.
Exactly. Like I look at 30 and I'm like, wow, that's like a parent age.
Well, that's how I feel like, man, I should be a parent, but now I'm like, no.
Yeah. You always feel older than you are, but what I'm saying is that I'm starting to feel, my body is like now starting to approach the downslope, because your body's increasing in development, and then at some point it's like, all right, now you're dying.
But that's around like 25 years though. At 25, that's when the body counts.
Exactly.
stops.
So I got 5 years
Yeah.
left. But I'm just worried about, not being. I'm a very physical person. I love doing outdoorsy stuff. I dive and I fly and I, do gymnastics and I rock climb and I don't know. I'm a crazy person. And there's so much that I want to do, and I'm just worried that my body won't keep up when I get older. Like older, like
Well, the thing
70s, 80s.
The thing is you can't avoid it. It's gonna happen, but you can limit it. It's like
Oh yeah.
there's plenty.
Well, you can prevent it too.
Prevent it too. Well, like there's people like 100 years old now.
Running.
You watch them. Like some of them. I was surprised. Some of them are still jogging.
Mm-hmm.
So they bike, they jog, and they don't look like 100. You look at they look like okay, they're probably late 60s, maybe 70s.
Mhm.
Like now I'm 101, 110. They're still walking around, and
Yeah.
it's just how you treat your body.
It's how you treat your body, what you put into it, and Are you happy? You know,
Yeah.
it's also the stress that ages you. You know, because of school, I have gray hairs at 20, and you know, it's important to push yourself and you know, get to where you want to go. But at the same time, if you overdo it, it will really mess with your brain, and it'll really put you in a state of not necessarily depression, but you're gonna not know what to do, kind of hopelessness.
Despair.
Yeah, because you want to succeed, and you're doing all the things that everybody tells you to do to succeed. Work hard, you know, wake up early every day, and you know, just keep going at it, and you know, whatever. But when that's all you have, it's kind of sad. It's you need to take some time off. As much as, you know, I'm upset. I'm a workaholic at this point. I love making videos. I love what I do. I love, you know, going to the planetarium. I love doing astronomy. Like, that's what I do on my free time. But sometimes you have to try new things. You have to, you know, go somewhere you've never gone before. Go on a random road trip somewhere. Me, I like to, you know, take a plane somewhere. Casually take a plane. If I can afford it. The gas is so expensive these days.
How much, okay, what's the average flight for you?
Okay, so when I'm in South Florida, obviously I live here in Jacksonville now. When I'm in South Florida, I use my dad's plane. Usually I just pay for gas and a little bit of maintenance and call it a day.
Okay, yeah.
Which is roughly for an entire, you know, if I have, you know, let's say an hour flight. Let's say an hour flight. Usually what I do is I fly from Miami to Lake Okeechobee and back, which is 2 hours round trip. And I go there for lunch because there's a really cool airport restaurant there. And the view over Lake Okeechobee is amazing. That would probably cost, how much does that usually cost? About $50-$60.
That's not bad.
That's not
That's
bad.
actually really.
That's not bad. But here in Jacksonville, where I rent, when I, you know, my dad owns the plane down there. It's a small plane. Here I have to rent it. So that same trip is now $300.
Ugh.
Easily.
Well, can you use it for longer flights? Like, say if you need to go to
I can use
DC, to Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to get to D.C., you may have to do a few stops. Maybe
A few gas stops.
From here, from Jacksonville, you'd probably have to stop somewhere in South Carolina, and then again in North Carolina. No, you could probably make it to D.C. from South Carolina. But, you know, in the end, it's the same price. You know, if it takes 10 hours, it's going to cost you, what is it, $1,500 for a round trip? Because that's probably a 10-hour round trip. But then again, you can. The rule is for my license, a private pilot license, I have to pay at least what everybody else is paying, or more. Usually, I pay more because just to be on the safe side. So, let's say a bill for a total trip is $1,000. We each pay $250, which is, you know, it really depends. Let's say we go to, you know, if we fly to Georgia and go camping for like a weekend, I think that would be worth it.
I mean, like, yeah, it depends how many people you bring with you, and it's just less hassle.
Yeah.
And it's
less time.
It's prettier scenery. It's like, oh, you can see the.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's less of a hassle because you have to find a car and you have to, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the flying.
It's probably more fun.
Flying is way fun. Just the fact that you could, I don't know, just leave the ground for a little bit it's refreshing, and it's a feeling like no other.
Yeah. Well, I drove across the country 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, and
Alone?
The first time was in a Daewoo Laganza. The second one was a Ford Mustang, and the third time was my car now, a Toyota Camry Hybrid. I mean, like, it's different perspectives. Like, I mean, America's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful country.
Yeah.
Once you start driving or even flying over it, like, you see the different scenery, you see the mountains, the deserts, swamps.
Yep.
Oh man, the valleys.
It's a beautiful country.
Like, we have it all here.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, you know, not all of us actually take take the
take the
opportunity.
leap and actually do it.
Go look in the backyard, like, wow, we have a lot back here.
We get comfortable. That's the scary thing. It's so scary. When I feel comfortable, I get kind of worried, because I do a lot of just impromptu traveling. Like not traveling, because I'm a student.
Yeah.
But but just road trips to Savannah, Georgia, to a spring. I do a lot of diving in natural springs. To my hometown in South Florida, just kind of hang out with my friends or whatever it is. And also I go down there because flying is cheaper. I usually I fly to Key West or whatever it is. When I kind of feel comfortable here in Jacksonville, if I don't do something, even it doesn't have to be traveling. If I just don't create something, or if I don't do something for a long time besides school and work, I kind of go insane.
Well, you sound like you have a mind that needs stimulation, like a healthy stimulation. You need to do something intellectual or.
I haven't I have a TV here in my condo, but I don't use it. I have a GameCube, which is pretty much
the GameCube.
The GameCube. I had that GameCube actually. We were talking about earlier how I used to go trucking with my dad. We stopped by a gas station, I think, one time when I was 6, and we bought that GameCube, and I've had it since.
It still works?
Same game. It works perfectly. It works like it's brand new. And I mean, that's a pretty. I just got it because I had my birthday party here, and I was like, I want to play the GameCube.
Your birthday?
On my birthday party, yeah. This is a 20-year-old college student. Hey, you guys want to get drinks? No, we're playing GameCube today.
All right. This is your birthday?
Yeah, it's my birthday. I do what I want. We had the most amazing spinach dip.
I haven't had spinach dip in a long time.
I'm a sucker for spinach dip.
Today, I didn't eat anything until around 3 or 4 o'clock, and I really want some tacos. I ate a lot of tacos at Saucy Tacos, this place.
Really?
In
Mandarin?
Yeah, Mandarin. Oh my god, I ate too much though. I kind of went to a food coma afterwards.
Jacksonville has so much food.
And it's getting better. It's getting better because before it wasn't like that.
You're in Mandarin. Have you been to Bagels R Us?
No. Where's that at?
Do you like bagels?
I haven't had bagels in a long time because I try to stay away from bread.
Yeah, but these are good bagels. There's one in Mandarin somewhere.
Bagels.
It's on Hendricks, I think, in Mandarin. But there's one here on near Beach Boulevard, 15, 20 minutes from here.
I may go check out tomorrow because I haven't had a good bagel in a long time.
It's not a bagel like you know. It is. It's a bagel. It's a regular bagel, but it's just it's very addictive. Very, very good.
I'll check out tomorrow.
And it's super cheap. You can get a breakfast platter for $5, $6.
Bagels R Us?
Yeah, Bagels R Us. I love how this conversation about space and time
Space
turned into a bagel commercial.
Yeah, I'm going to check out tomorrow. Or
oh, yeah.
I may mention the next podcast.
If you're listening, Bagels R Us.
Bagels R Us. I'll check it out tomorrow and try them.
They're awesome.
Probably go there for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Might
go tomorrow, too.
Here's a fun question.
All right.
If you're arrested and your family and friends were not aware of what you were charged with, what would they assume you were arrested for?
Man. Probably reckless driving.
Why?
Well, there's a quote that kind of applies very well to me. It says, "A good pilot is a terrible driver."
Makes sense. That does make a lot of sense.
I'm not okay.
Get out of the way.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's my rant on driving. I don't think I'm a bad driver. I call it efficient driving.
How so?
Because I go a little bit over the speed limit, which is not recommended, but everybody does it. Everybody goes over the speed limit. But, I'm used to Miami driving. I'm a Miami driver because it's my hometown. But I drive pretty much, I don't know, I'm always trying to be in the fastest lane, not wasting a second. Once the light turns green, I'm accelerating. I'm not. Like most cars, they accelerate slower than a bicycle.
Yeah.
And I'm like I don't know. My whole rant on this is that We have cars. They're meant to go faster than bikes. That's why we don't ride bikes. If I wanted to go this fast, I would have ridden my bike. So hurry up, please. And I don't know, driving, I get super tense when I drive because just everyone in Jacksonville has this tendency of driving 15 miles under the speed limit. It's they're 30 in a 45, and then I get a ticket for going 50 in a 45.
It's weird out here. Like, sometimes when I ride a motorcycle, I stopped wearing headphones because I used to I have like a little playlist on my iPod, like a little motorcycle traveling playlist. But I stopped wearing that because, like, man, these people suck out here driving. I need more situational,
more attention.
Yeah, more attention or situational awareness.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I never had I had a close call a couple of months ago, but it's more about like I just gotta be looking further down the road to make sure.
Just staying away from, kind of trying to read the cars.
Yeah, I try to stay in the left lane as best as I can because I figure there's less traffic coming into the road.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous. But I love the feeling of riding a motorcycle. This stuff.
Oh, it's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Same thing with flying.
Well, yeah, it's adrenaline. It's like you get a little rush, but I love that. Like I said, I love taking road trips. Yeah, it's a freedom. You get like a freedom, and I just feel like I think our ancestors when they rode horses got the same feeling when they first started, not training horses, but domesticating. Yeah, domesticating horses. Like, man, we're going fast. We're going over mountains now. Man, this is awesome. This is like a new type of freedom.
Yep.
The freedom of the road.
That's awesome.
Okay, what conspiracy theories do you believe in?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory. I don't really... I don't know. I mean, if I had to believe anything, is that, there is... I think there are more... it's hard to explain. But I don't think that God is what we think it is.
How so?
We envision, well, when I say we, religions of all sorts envision God as, a figure of some sort. But I think, I try to, think of different ways of imagining what a greater being would be like. And like we were talking about earlier, we can't perceive certain things, like new colors and time, the actual visual representation of time. What if we can't visualize God because it's in a different realm of understanding? What if God is just some sort of essence that we can't capture with our, puny human brains? And what if there are more? What if, we don't know, what if there are more gods and each of them are assigned to a planet or a solar system, or, what if there are multiple variations of these greater beings and our, quote unquote, God is one of them?
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't think that we're it. I don't believe that, I wouldn't call myself an atheist. I wouldn't say I don't believe there's something out there. I definitely believe that there is something smarter than us, something bigger than us, out there. Whether it's in space, whether it's right here in the room that we're sitting in, just among us, or whether it's something we just can't understand, something really in a different realm. Like, think about the best way I can explain this is think about your thoughts, right? Are your thoughts real? Or are they in a different realm of understanding? Like, I can't understand your thoughts unless you say them out loud, because that's not my realm of understanding. I can't dig into your brain. Even if I had your brain, your physical brain in my hand, I can't look and find your thoughts.
Yeah, it's not a computer.
There's just it's exactly. It's not like a computer. So it's just, there's so much we don't understand, and I don't want to come to conclusions.
Yeah. Well, like I actually feel exactly the same way.
Mhm.
One thing I always, cause I like I think you could tell like I love science.
Yeah.
Like and my thing is like the first thing I always go to is like science, but I also know science could also be dogmatic.
Yeah.
And because we're humans, there's always going to be bias or mistakes made. But the good thing about science is always growing, is always self-correcting.
Yeah.
Like along the way.
Well, the way we advance in science today is by a process called falsifiability.
Mhm.
We want to falsify, prove previous claims false, to better narrow down the truth.
Yeah, and if
So-
you can't,
If we can't, that's the known truth.
Yeah.
If we can't falsify it using our whatever we have today, then it must be true, at
Yeah.
least to our understanding.
And what I was trying to get at is like, scientists are atheists and said there's no soul, but then you're looking at kind of like what's going on with quantum physics, and I forgot the theory. When you have the two quarks, spooky distance, accident as spooky distance.
Spooky distance.
So I forgot the exact theory, but they tested it, they proved it. They had one quark, or they split a quark or something, and if they sent the quark one direction, then the part they split or the second quark moved in the same direction. It followed each other,
Mhm.
and so I think they only did it. The first experiments were probably a foot away. Then they did it across the English Channel, and the same thing, same quark. As soon as they spun it the one other way, the same quark did the same thing.
Man.
So I always thought that was kind of like what happens if we die? That's basically what it is. Like all of our memories and neurons and all that stuff just gets like some other dimension, a quark or something takes over, and we're just switched. It's like, so we're still alive, but our
Yeah.
bodies are gone.
But again, what if we just don't understand it?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Even right now, just the physics, not just the physics, but just the way the space-time continuum functions. There's a lot that we don't take into account. And it's just amazing to see that there are so many people getting involved today with, trying to understand that and trying to better envision what's really out there, because that's ultimately the goal. We want to answer life's greatest questions. And I don't know about you, I want to do it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I want to do it, try and get as many answers and clues as we can, by the time I'm dead.
Even if you can't, at least you'll forward it better.
Exactly,
It'll forward it
exactly.
for the next generation. Like at least you were a stepping stone.
Yep.
Or at least a giant with shoulders that somebody else could step on.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. This a brave new world. We're still learning a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot we don't know.
Yep, we've learned a lot, but we have a lot to learn.
Yeah. There's still so much out there. When was the first time you felt love, and how that happened?
First time I fell in love.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Has it happened yet?
No, it has.
Really?
Definitely.
For me,
I-
that happened till like late.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
I have this
27.
amazing new girlfriend. She is just everything I could ever want in a human being.
Really?
We've been dating for almost a month, really recent. And I don't know. I live a crazy life for someone who's
Yeah, of
20.
course.
And I finally met someone who's so real and so down to earth and always willing to communicate rather than to start fires and drama, which
That's nice.
which I've hated that in past relationships, and it's the reason on the inside I've been avoiding them, just because there's always something to fight about and always something to be mad about, and I don't know, relationships are not natural for human beings. We're primates. We're made to reproduce, and that's it. But love is something that we've kind of evolved over the past couple centuries. And I finally now understand what that means. I've had relationships in the past, and I've kind of understood it, but I never saw them going anywhere. But I finally think, even though it's only been a month, I think I finally see what love is, truly. And it's a support network between two human beings who just want the best for each other and are willing to go along, this road to nowhere of life together. And just, learning from each other and exploring the world and blah, 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 and chocolates and flowers along with that.
Well, like, while you're talking, I was thinking about Interstellar when Anne Hathaway they were talking about
love transcends.
Yeah, like why do we cry for someone who's dead, who's been buried? Why do we cry? Like, love is a measurable force.
Yeah,
it is a measurable. We may not understand, and I hate when it gets downgraded. It's like, oh, it's just neurochemicals, or it's just a cultural thing. Like, if it was, I think that's just a very cynical view of it.
Yeah,
that's just amazing things happen when you're in love. Like, you're healthier, you feel better when you actually in a healthy relationship, or if you're in love with something you're doing, and it's just you function better. You're happier. There's passion. There's meaning behind it.
And it's not just the good times too.
Oh yeah.
A lot of things that I do. I compete a lot in video competitions, and I've done a few science competitions also. But preparing for film festivals and putting together these huge productions as a 20-year-old, it's a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure. And being in a relationship kind of gives you something to go home to at the end of the day. There's something to look forward to, so, like someone to be there with you, through the hard times and to kind of talk you through it. And because sometimes all the time, it's important to have a second perspective on an issue.
Yeah, of course.
And also, if I think I'm doing something that's wrong, or if I think I'm doing, or if I'm just not understanding something about whatever it is, it's just nice to have someone there to guide you through and share some input.
Well, the universe is such a big place, and we shouldn't be alone in it. Life is such a amazing journey on its own.
Yeah.
If you use it the right way, if you see it in that way, and it was never meant to be journeyed alone.
Yeah, definitely. And we're super social beings, as humans and most animals. And love and relationships, they're kind of a way to secure it.
Yeah.
To secure social interaction. And my bird over there chirping away. I don't know if you can hear that.
I'll try it.
Cockatiels are like my specific type of bird. They're very, very social animals, and it's sad for me to see her alone at home all the time, which is why I'm training her, to wear a harness and kind of hang out with me all day, so I can bring her to school and bring her to whatever it is. Because in the end, they need social interaction. She doesn't have a friend.
Yeah.
Besides me, I'm her only friend. And of course, when my friends hang out, at my apartment or whatever, or I should say condo. And same thing applies to humans. If I lived here alone, it would be super depressing. I mean, I do live here alone, but if I never had friends over, if I didn't have my bird, it would just be dead silence.
Yeah.
Every time I come home, and after a stressful day, it could put a toll on you. So social interaction is definitely a major key, and communication is a major key in being successful, not only in life, but back to the space industry.
Well, humans are extremely resilient, but when it comes to seclusion or just being alone, that's the biggest challenge right there.
Yeah.
Just being by yourself, like, and that's a hard thing to survive.
Yeah.
All right.
Think it's time for one more question?
Yeah. No, we'll skip all this and do the one I make sure I ask everyone. Ask everyone this question. It's a 2-part question.
Sure.
What is the worst thing you ever done, and the best thing you ever done?
Oh, that's a cool question.
I ask that to everyone, and I always make sure that's the last one.
Mm-hmm. The worst thing I ever did. I really gotta think back. I think the worst thing I ever did, in my opinion, was the way I treated my brother as a kid.
Really?
Because I have a younger brother. He's 17 now, which is crazy to me. Wow, he's 17. I was just 17.
You were just 17.
That's insane. I keep thinking he's 5. He's 17, and he's 6'3". He's a huge guy, but as a kid, he would always follow in my footsteps, and I didn't understand why. Because when I would make movies, he'd start making movies, and when I tried acting, he tried acting, and I would start a company, and he would start a company, and I'm like, why are you copying me? Stop copying me. And I would resent him and just treat him like dirt. And I regret it today because he's such a bright young man. And, now we're kind of slowly transitioning into, friends, but now I'm away. I don't live with him anymore. And it kind of sucks that I don't get to, spend time with him and kind of see him grow now as a person. And the best thing that I ever did probably applied to this student astronaut contest, honestly. I think every day I kind of, every single day, I think is the best thing I ever did. Applying to the student So far, yeah.
So far.
It changes all the time, the best thing I ever did, because I try to do that all the time. I try to keep myself busy. But this student astronaut contest, I'm really, really happy with it because I just finished a very stressful class, Calc 2.
Yes.
The whole class pretty much failed.
And
I was.
That's probably the teacher's fault.
It was no. There's a whole. Another really cool thing that I actually got together was a giant group of students. I kind of put together like a little study session of like 20 students. And we were all kind of, complaining about the professor, and we went all together, marched into the president's office, not the president, but the department chair's office, and, kind of demanded that something be done about the professor because he was, he kind of said he didn't finish problems because he says, oh, I'm lazy, you guys can do this at home. But we didn't know how to do it at home. You didn't finish the problem. So he'd get to a certain point, and then he'd just stop. And then he would assign so much homework, and the tests didn't match the study guides or anything, and it was a lot. He wouldn't follow the syllabus. It was just a whole mess. But anyway, best thing I ever did. Student astronaut contest, because I just finished that class. I had a really bad cold. I think it was borderline flu. I couldn't talk. I was deaf in my right ear, nearly deaf. I wouldn't say deaf, but I really could not hear. There was a huge sinus blockage in my ear, and I couldn't hear anything out of that ear. And it's hard when you're trying to edit a video and balance your audio. It kind of postpones the whole process. And when you can't talk, you have to voice over. I had a strict schedule because the contest. I had a week left after I finished that class, and I just had 3 planned days for recording in different places, and I lost my voice on day 2. So day 2 and beyond, when I filmed in the airplane and when I filmed in the Museum of Science and History and in South Florida, a lot of that stuff. Oh, and in at the university, a lot of it was voiced over, and I just kind of whatever vocals I can get out and facial expressions I can put on. I kind of did. 'Cause we had a strict filming schedule, and after I was editing, the very last thing I did was add my voiceovers and finally finish my voice, and kind of make it look realistic, and it kind of worked. It worked pretty well. I was really happy with my video, and I was just proud that I was able to do it after all that stuff, and hopefully hopefully this leads me to Star City, Russia.
Probably will.
Hope so.
All right, man. Thank you again. I really am excited about this episode. Thank you for letting me come to your house and or your condo.
Yeah,
It was a good conversation. I really enjoyed talking about science, nerding out with you for a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming. I had a blast.
All right, and thank you, Piper.
Yeah, Piper for making a guest appearance.
Making a guest appearance.
Stuck on the floor there, trying to get up to her cage.
All right.
I'll let her up in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you again for listening. I really, really enjoyed this episode, and I really enjoy you guys. I'm grateful that you guys listened to it. Tell your friends about the website and the podcast. Help me grow a little bit. The audience is growing, which I'm happy about, but anyone that's listening, thank you for listening. I can't say that enough. I really am grateful that you guys listen to this. Want to thank Lee for coming on the show. I really enjoyed it, and his bird Piper for chirping in the background. It was really cute. But thanks again for listening, and thank you, Lee and Piper. You guys have a great day. Tune in next time.